Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It's Wednesday, June the 7th, the 10 a.m. agenda morning session. I'd like to get Mr. Lee to say the pledge and Mr. Scott to say the prayer. Please stand.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Recite the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, Holy Spirit, our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
All right, before we get started, get Mr. Bo and Mr. Mike with update with Jeff Davis Electric. That was a hot topic here a couple of days ago. Let him get up here and speak. Y'all want to come up here and talk?
Was any pun intended by hot topic? No, I hope not. Talking about the Fulton substation, as everyone knows, we're still on generation from the Intercoastal Waterway all the way down to here. We're not connected to the grid. We have 4 sites that we have generators stationed at: Johnson Bayou, Grand Chenier, Fulton, and what we call Mishwish is a Michigan-Wisconsin substation. We had a faulty valve at the Fulton substation, and faulty valve was noticed and was rushing to press the stop button, but it caught fire before they could. And then once that happened, that's what happened this past weekend. It caught fire and it caused an outage of about 40 hours. 40 hours is not good, that I know, but to do what they did in 40 hours is pretty doggone amazing. Because I got there when the fire was going and I said, this is gonna be at least 2 weeks. So when they said, no, we can move things out and get the new fuel system in. So within 40 hours, they completely removed the fuel system that was there with all the trucks and what they call the queen tanks, which is an LNG term, and all those things that go along with it. Moved that out of the way, built a new platform of running boards that put the new fuel system on it, connected the pipes. None of the generators were compromised, and our system wasn't compromised, and they turned it on around 6 o'clock Monday morning, around there. So I'm pretty proud of the guys. They've worked very hard to get everything done, and that's the fuel people, Stabilis and Greco and Jeff Davis all worked together to get the power back on as soon as we could. If there are, and there will be, some claims that come along with us, then you just call our office and talk to a guy named Ben Hetzel, 800-256-5332. If y'all hear of anything and anybody has a claim, do not hesitate to give us a call. We'll put them on the list and we'll get everything done. So, are there any questions of me as far as?
Yeah, I got some.
Yes, sir.
What caused your fire?
It was a faulty equipment, is what it amounts to. And they test equipment every
Was
day.
that truck chocked and grounded?
Yes, sir.
Was that driver, who hooked the truck up?
I
Who hooks the
couldn't,
truck up?
I couldn't tell you who's hooking up what or what the names are, but they all work for Stabilis, which is the fuel company.
Yeah. Did you have one of your personnel there while that was taking place, or was the driver there alone?
There's always somebody at the site that works for Greco. There was somebody there from Stabilis who was refilling the tanks that were there. Once they noticed the leak, they tried to hit the emergency button, but it was just too late. It was faulty equipment. They caused it.
Joe has something.
Mr. Mike, I know I stopped by after I got off work, and thank you and all your people, and also Tim DuPont, our local fire chief, and our local guys that are on the parish employees that work on the fire department. Also, Tim, I think we had Venture Global's fire and rescue team that went out there to assist Tim along with the sheriff's deputies and along with our ambulance service. So there's a lot of people involved helping y'all out there and to make it quick and nobody got hurt.
And that's the major part, nobody got hurt. Thank you for saying that because that's,
Thank y'all,
it's
everybody
something
working
that I
together.
should do.
Am I missed anybody? I think that covered everybody. Tim? I think it covered everybody.
We had extreme help from the locals, fire department, Venture Global, everybody you just said that was involved, and
Thank
Jeff
you
Davis
all.
Electric Co-op, thanks you for all of the hard work that y'all have done.
And getting it on so quick too, because man, when I first heard it might be 2 weeks or more, I said, oh my goodness.
When you see a fire of that magnitude, and first thing that goes through my mind is worst case scenario. And so when it came back on at 40 hours, it's a long time, but I was pretty elated.
Yeah, my phone started ringing one after, I said, oh Lord, here we go.
Well,
Thank y'all, man, appreciate it.
yeah, I have to get a new phone. So
Yeah.
Any of y'all people work on pontoon bridges?
no, sir. And we're not expanding out into any of the other business than what we have now. It's all I can handle. That's for sure.
So we can get a bridge open.
Thank y'all. I appreciate
you.
y'all.
Thank y'all.
And
Thank you.
we're always there available to answer any questions that y'all may have. And Bo will go over what we're doing as far as the transmission line and getting everything done to get the new transmission line down here. It has started. We have got some advanced funds from FEMA to start the project. We plan on construction starting August 1st, and it's going to be starting at the Intercoastal Waterway, getting the undergrounds put in all areas. I mean, it's going to be a project, and we're looking forward to it, and I can't wait till it's finished.
So Michael will be underground instead of over the.
The transmission will be overhead.
Okay.
The distribution will be underground.
Okay.
Except for Calcasieu River. Everything will be underground there. And then the Mermentau River, they'll have transmission overhead and distribution underground. So, and Bo, if I say something wrong, you just hit me or something. So, okay, kick me hard. But at this point, again, everybody, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, I'll let Bo take over.
Morning. Not much of an update from the last time we were here. EP Bro is still working in some of the substations doing the demo work. They're just about complete with Johnson Bayou and Holly Beach. They have a little bit left to do at Fulton, and then they'll be done until new construction starts. We're working to get our coastal use permit. We're anticipating getting that in August, which will allow EP Bro and the other contractor to start. But on the transmission side, we are reviewing shop drawings. They're ordering all the poles, the foundations. A lot of that material is coming in at this time. It's not at the stations close to the project site. They're all over the country right now, but once they secure their station, all of their materials will be moving to there. So you'll start seeing some flags on the side of the road. We'll have surveyors out there setting stakes where the poles are going to go to finish up design and make sure we're not interfering with any infrastructure, water, gas lines, doing our final checks on the design and making sure our submittals are good for our pole construction. But that's about it. Come August, September, you'll see a lot of activity.
Good.
Yes.
Anybody have a question?
One quick question. How far off of the road 27 are y'all gonna be placing those poles?
Between 20 and 30 feet off of the road.
So there's room for expansion or widening of the road or replacing of the water lines or other stuff in the right of ways?
We've been coordinating with Johnson Bayou's Waterwork District, yes. So we gave them some shape files, so they are aware of where we're going and we're working that out with them.
Okay.
Yep. We're also coordinating with DOTD. That's an ongoing daily basis. We do have some clear zone issues and right of way, but we're working through all of that, and all of that will be situated prior to start of construction.
Thank you.
There's a lot of things happening all at the same time, like you said, DOTD and permits here and there. If this project was done without FEMA funding, it would probably already been finished. But there's no way I can build a $370 million transmission line and elevated substations and then put that on the backs of the ratepayers, because your bill would be, oh, good Lord, 100 times than what it is now. Nobody can afford that. So It is a time-consuming process, but it's a necessary process to go through the FEMA process, and in the end, it is going to get done. It's just taking time, and I thank you for everyone's patience. We're gonna be with those generators until June of 2025. I know that sounds like a long time, and it is, but we're gonna have a lot of things happening, and in the meantime, we've had a lot of cooperation from a lot of folks, but I wanted to mention, and I hate to mention a couple because I'm gonna leave some out, and I apologize for all those I left out, but Miami Corporation and Sweet Lake Land and Oil have been tremendous to work with. And they appreciate this parish, they love this parish, and they've been working with us quite well, along with all of you, and we thank you for that. And you'll see progress. We're gonna get it started, and we're gonna get it finished, good Lord willing. You said the prayer, God's will, that's what we're hoping for, because
No storms.
no
Yeah.
storms, I agree. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
y'all.
All right, we're gonna move on to number 3, Greg Ashishan, Yanman Select, commissary variant for the last stand.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me here again. I was here back in January to request some, permanent permits for food trucks in Cameron Village, which is, I highly appreciate you granting 4 permits that will allow us to serve the community without having to be in the fear of, every 6 months, whether we're gonna be extended or not. And that solved, the first part of that puzzle. The second part of it is satisfying the state of Louisiana Health Department requirement to operate a food truck in Cameron Village or anywhere in the state of Louisiana, which is having a commissary attached to the food truck, or having to move the food truck every day to a commissary, which is, in our case, our food truck is hooked to the city sewer, to the power, to the propane, to all those things that will make it impossible to move. So the solution is to build or bring a commissary and place it next to the food truck. And I just want to explain quickly what a commissary is. It's a small building that doesn't need anything beside, hand washing sinks, 3-compartment sink, and mop sink. That's all what's required in that building. So it can be a very small building, 10 by 16 at the most, or something in that nature. It doesn't even require electricity in it. The purpose of it is to be able to, clean the food truck or do some prep over there, which is in our case, in our food truck, we have all those. The only problem is the state still want a commissary to be attached to the food truck even though that we have 3-compartment sink, hand washing sink, and mop sink inside the food truck. So obviously, we are trying to get that building over here. It's a very small building that can be hauled out in a case of, hurricane or if we need to move it out. Now, to elevate it 14 feet is going to be a very costly project, obviously, and a very complicated project to elevate that building 14 feet to be in the required ordinance in Cameron Parish. So we're asking for that variance. We're a public necessity, and we have to have that commissary to continue to operate. The health department is saying our last day of operation can be July 1st if we don't have that commissary, or at least a plan approved to install one. So I understand, some exceptions can be made and some cannot be made. However, I just want to make sure that this building is not a convenience store. It is not open to the public. It's nothing but a small building that is very small, can be 10 by 16, 10 by 10. We can make it as small as possible. It doesn't have to fit much. And all what we're asking is if we'll be allowed to put that building next to the food truck on a ground level. Again, in case of a hurricane or anything happen, we can easily hold that building out without any problem, just like the food truck. We can just move it out. So that's something that we would like for you guys to consider, because that will solve the problem permanently. Now we can operate permanently and continue to serve the community here in Cameron without having to deal with the exceptions that the health department has been granting us every 6 months. We're right now in a 6 months to 6 month exception from the health department to continue to operate.
Any questions?
Can that building be mobile?
Yes, absolutely. We can bolt it in, yeah.
Does our ordinance specify
It cannot be on wheels to satisfy the health department. It have to be a building, it cannot be on wheels. It have to be without wheels. It cannot be on wheels.
It can't
It
become
has to
sterile.
be fixed.
It have to be fixed. It have to be bolted in or just placed.
Rule, not our rule.
Now, are we splitting hairs here in the sense that we got a temporary building and they're expecting a permanent building? It's pretty much what they say. It has to be supposed to be a place of business, okay, and tied to, and we're not the health department, so but the technicalities there may not allow a temporary building. Is Ryan here today?
No, he's not.
He's here.
Well, how does the other, food trucks operate? How they
Well,
are they not running into this same issue?
They all
You're talking about outside of Cameron Parish?
in Cameron.
In Cameron, we have an ordinance that allows so many food trucks, just like Holly Beach.
Right, they have to report.
He's outside of that, if I'm not mistaken. That's outside of the Cameron proper, if you will.
They all report to their commissary
Right.
nightly.
Well,
Well, my question is are they required to meet the city requirements that he's made?
Yes.
And have they met those requirements?
No, we've been given whatever 6 months we've been letting them.
These two, yes, these two, Anchors Up and The Last Stand have been given an exception to not go and report back to their commissary because they were permanent businesses before.
Exception through LDH.
So why is he here today?
Because LDH is going, LDH told him that he will be required July 1st to report to a commissary or he has to close the store.
Well, what's
Him
the-
and
So
Anchors
why
Up
is
both.
the other food truck people not here?
Is
They
there?
don't have an issue, they have a commissary they report to. They're compliant with LDH.
What are you talking about?
They're elevated 14 foot?
They have a commissary somewhere that they report
Yeah,
to.
we all-
They're moving the
Commissary
food truck
outside
by
of the
commissary.
area.
They're moving the food truck nightly to their commissary. So for example, we can have a commissary in Lake Charles, which is, we can, coordinate with any restaurant in Lake Charles, and that can be used as our commissary. However, that means we have to move this whole 30-foot trailer with the fryers and the grill and the refrigeration and everything every night over the bridge to Lake Charles and bring it every morning, which is pretty dangerous things to do. The other food trucks are not food trailers; they are more of a food truck. So they have, they can drive it safely.
So they drive them out every day?
We don't have anybody here like that.
They don't operate unless it's a holiday. So there's not a daily food truck in Holly Beach, to my knowledge. They come once every long moon when there's a holiday.
They only come on weekends or something.
Something. We are here permanently 7 days a week, and that's different. If we were here 2 days a week, it will be easy to move it in and out. But moving a food truck that operate from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. To Lake Charles, by the time you get there, it's 9, 10 p.m. By the time you get back, you have to leave at 3 in the morning to get back here, and it's a logistic operation.
What is the legal definition of commissary, please?
So
What's the legal definition of commissary?
I'll look it up on LDH.
It's a permanent fixed facility that is required by DHH to have a 3-compartment sink, a mop sink, and a hand sink, and an area to prep food.
Do what?
So that's what it is.
Does the commissary have to be in our parish?
No.
No, I know that.
but you have to move the food truck to that commissary to whatever it is.
Just for an example, if Canix, John has a store right in Creole. If John had a truck or trailer or whatever, John could bring it to Cameron, operate all day long. At the end of the day, when he calls it a day, hooks onto it, goes back to the store, plugs it back in right there.
To do what?
To clean.
To clean,
That's his commissary.
Say it again?
to clean with, to have to go
Okay.
to that 3-compartment.
All right, so these facilities was actually open here, all right? They were connected to city system, right?
Correct.
Okay? And he has a system at his disposal right here, but yet he still has to not use that system. He has to go somewhere else and use another system.
That's correct.
Correct.
That doesn't make sense.
Well, that's the regulation, unfortunately.
Not us.
Yeah, that's the Louisiana Health
So
Department.
the whole thing that you're here today with us, I'm just trying to make sure I'm clear with this, is that you don't wanna have to go 14 foot in there.
Correct, I don't own the
You wanna
prop.
put it up, you wanna put it on the ground.
Correct, and I want to clarify what we're putting on the ground. It's a very, very small building that can be moved out. It can be bolted and unbolted in a matter of very few hours and moved out. It is just a checkbox to satisfy the Louisiana Health Department. We really won't be doing much of use of it because, again, all those systems that in that commissary are in the food truck. I mean, obviously, we cannot operate without hand washing sink today. We can't operate without 3-compartment sink and such as. We have him in the food truck. We're hooked to the city water, to the parish water. We're hooked to the electricity Rouge of Davis and everything. So it's just a checkbox that we have to check. That's all what it is really. I mean, it will be minimal use of that building. And that's why we're going to make it as small as possible. I rent the property where I operate. Tracy on Anchors Up, she owns her property. So for me to go and having to invest $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 to elevate that building, and then maybe down the road the landlord decide to sell his property or decide to lease it to somebody else, I mean, I lose all that investment. So, I mean, it's a very, very expensive investment versus a $4,000 or $5,000, 140 mile an hour wind-approved building that we submitted the plan for. We can bring in, bolt it in, something happened, just unbolt it, get it out, and it will be pretty simple. Again, we won't be using that building. We're just gonna be putting it there to check a box. That's all what it is.
Exactly, just checking a box.
That's really what it is.
You're already set up, you already got the system to get rid of your
City sewer, everything.
everything.
Well, I mean, we've been operating here since November 17, 2020.
I understand your point. To me, that's not the question here. My question is, why you have the facility, you have the means to get rid of your waste, all right? But yet you gotta put another facility in to tie into that facility, and then you gotta haul it out.
Doesn't make sense, yeah, but we just have to do it. That's just
Not
the
making
regulation.
sense. That's just, doesn't make sense.
Here's the other question is, and I wish Ryan was here because we wanted to ask him that question is, so if we take the wheels out of that food truck, would the health department consider it as a permanent building, and then we can be treated as a restaurant without having to have a commissary?
You still have to have a variance though.
But then we have to have the variance and to elevate the food truck, so it's kind of
If you take the wheels off, you have to elevate.
correct. So it's a problem. If we take the wheels off, we satisfy Louisiana, but the health department, but not the parish, and vice versa.
So,
While
Mr.
we're trying to
Curtis,
reiterate the wheel here, let me ask one question. Have you cleared this with Ryan, that this would be acceptable to the health department?
To move the wheels?
No, to have this building.
Yes, so Ryan said he doesn't care if it's elevated or not, that's not his deal. His deal is that this building meet the health code, which is having the 3 element of hand washing sinks, a mop sink, and a 3-compartment sink. That's all what he care about that in this building. Where you put it up, 14 feet, 20 feet, 1 feet, 0, whatever, it doesn't matter. It just have to be connected to the food truck via an awning. So we're gonna put it close to the door and connect it via awning.
so just like the one, there's a food truck in Holly Beach right now. They have moved from Shreveport to Holly Beach. She has to go every night to Brown's in Hackberry, to her commissary, to clean her food truck facility every day that she uses it.
I understand that, but she doesn't have, they don't have a city system like Cameron does.
Right,
So they have to go to a commissary. I understand that point.
yes.
My point is, you have a system that's in place. They're hooked up to that system. So everything that you pump, they take out of their building, they go put in this other building, and then use that on the system, right?
That's the state doing that.
This
That's
is
not
the
us.
state, right.
That's the state. Nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
So that we can kick this dog all day long, it's the state that's making do what they gotta do. You're asking us to give you a variance to put your building on the ground, that's all we're concerned about.
Correct.
Nothing to do with the waste or nothing else, that's nothing to do with us.
What's the size of this building?
What's that?
How big?
It can be 10 by 16, it can be 10 by 10, it can be even 8 by 8.
I would think we would wanna know, because whatever we do for this guy, if we do anything, we'll have to do it with everybody else when they come to it. So we wanna make sure that the building will be what size, can be moved, yada, yada.
It's four permits in Cameron Village, so it's me, Tracy, and probably John Kenny might join us when business picks up and whoever comes in. I assume the person that will come in, not on a regular basis, will probably move his stuff back and forth since they won't be permanent. But the permanent people here is me and Tracy that hook to the city, to the parish systems. So basically, me and Tracy will have to have one each. And again, we can make it as small as you allow us. All what it really needs is very small space. I can make it as small as 10 by 10 or even 8 by 8. I like to have it 10 by 16, just, you know, if we're gonna have it, let's have a little bit extra storage space, basically, that's what it is. But I really can make it as small as you can approve it for me. I mean, you know, hand washing sink is about, you know, a couple of feet at the most with all the fixture. A 3-compartment sink is about 4 feet, and a mop sink is about a 1.5 foot or 2. So that's all it is.
We're gonna soon have construction for CP2 starting, we're gonna have thousands of people back down here, with nowhere to eat, you know,
Well,
so.
I wanna state this, I know we need food trucks in Cameron, because we are not getting the amount of field-owned restaurants coming back, so I know you need them. But I just wanna state the following. I never support a variance for businesses, I never will, but the rest of the jury is, there's 7 other people here. I just want you to know I'm not gonna support a variance.
I won't either.
Until we get the ability to allow variances for our people, our residents of the parish.
I am a resident of the parish. I live in Cameron Parish.
That's right, but the rest of the people
He's talking about a
need
homeowner.
variance. Homeowners need variances. I stated a long time ago, I'm not gonna approve the variance. But there's 8 other people.
One thing I got, Joe, can I say?
Yeah, go ahead.
The thing is, what's bad is insurance. And that's what's holding us back.
Correct.
I mean, that's why a lot of people won't come back home. Until we get a new governor, a new insurance commissioner or something, nothing, it keeps rising and rising every day, so people cannot afford. Come down here, that dollar store will be the perfect place for a restaurant. What they want for that thing, 600,000?
Yeah, I mean, how are you gonna
You
get
know, so how can somebody do that? You know, then plus pay the insurance.
And
You
it's
know-
not just here down south.
No, I know they're hitting y'all up there too.
That, I mean, I
No
got
insurance.
people in the Grand Lake area that are having to move out because they can't afford to live in Cameron Parish.
Oh, I know, the whole parish. Yeah.
So, I mean, I know we can't give everybody variances.
I do have a question. Yaman, have you looked into areas within this vicinity where you could have a commissary?
So here is the issue. Even if the commissary is, you know, a mile down the road, let's say, okay. Problem again, our food truck is hooked to the city, to the parish system. That means I have to unplug the plumbing every day. I have a 250-pound propane tank that gonna be unplugged today. Jeff Davis, we're hooked to the hard wire to the Jeff Davis system. That means if we have to move that truck, it's a whole logistic operation just to move that truck. Then you have 2 fryers, you have a grill, you have a bunch of refrigeration that you have to secure to move it. I mean, moving that food truck in any wrong way or any hard brake or anything, this is a 30 by 8 heavy trailer. Can, you know, flip a fryer, and if you're gonna start every day emptying the fryers and securing all those systems and moving, this is hours and hours and hours of work. This is really a restaurant in a food truck. It is not just a food trailer. I mean, this is really a restaurant. It's set up as a restaurant inside a trailer. That's a problem with, or the challenge with it. Now, just to put it on insurance perspective. So we called our insurance company and said, okay, we might have to move the food trailer, you know, to a commissary every night. What's the cost of that? It's a $46,000 a year policy. Because, you know, you have to require, you know, because you're hauling it up and all that stuff. I mean, we're not making any money in the last 8 months as is. We're just hanging out to continue serving the little people that stay in the community and whatever left in Venture Global, and obviously CP2 and Commonwealth and CP3 might be coming, which is gonna, you know, turn back again into a very busy place. But we're paying $46,000 in premium and insurance a year to move that food trailer, plus all the logistics that involve in unhooking that trailer daily. Basically, it will become, you know, it's not operational. It's impossible to operate that food truck. It takes several hours to set up that food truck and set it up for movement daily.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Let me ask one question real quick. Robin, what, for RV trailers that we have that are not in their RV park, do we allow them an accessory building?
No, we do not.
No
A
type.
recreational vehicle is not a permanent dwelling,
Okay, so
and you're
our
not allowed to have an
our ordinance
accessory
already
building.
doesn't allow this.
Correct.
Well, here's my question. If you go inside the LNG plant, there is a bunch of those buildings on the ground level. You know, every time they bring a contractor to work, like now there's contractors doing a turnaround, there's a bunch of those 10 by 16 inside the walls, inside the plant, sitting on ground level. Would they not be
Okay.
able to
We have a wall there.
Yeah,
There's a wall.
that's out of the scope.
We're not gonna solve this problem.
Yeah, no.
Maybe we can take this under advisement with the district attorney's office and Ryan and sit down and have a meeting and figure out where we are and what we might be able to do.
Yeah, we'll fight this all day, but, do we need to move this to the vote meeting, or we just gonna,
It's on there,
It's
you
on
know,
there?
table it.
we can table it, you know? Anybody got any other questions? All right,
We, one thing we can do, last thing, we can petition the state to give them a little bit of leeway, give them a few more months until we can come up with something.
That would be great if we can get another 6 to 12 months of exception from the state of Louisiana. Maybe by that time we actually can figure a way. Maybe we can, you know, the Family Dollar building, the guy is gonna stop receiving rent from the Family Dollar in September. Maybe when he realizes, okay, I'm not getting any monthly rent, maybe I should compromise and lease the space out, right? Right now he's refusing to lease it and he wanna sell it for $600,000, but soon enough the money's gonna dry out. He won't have his money to pay mortgage on it, so he might say, okay, you know what, I'll lease it to you, so at least I have some
Okay.
money. But that's gonna be a month and month from now. So if you guys can do another exception with the state of Louisiana to push them to allow us to stay another 6 to 12 months, will be great. Again, we've been operating for 3 years. We haven't made anybody sick or anything. We're fully compliant with sanitation and health codes. So that can be a great idea.
okay. We'll see when it comes to the vote meeting, see what we're gonna do, and see if we can get with the district attorney in the state and maybe come up with an answer for you.
All right, well, I appreciate
Thank you,
that.
sir.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to number 4, Matthew Courtney, 110 Seabright Avenue, Johnson Bayou, over Ocean View subdivision, administrative hearing violation, grass, weed, and cleanliness. Ordinance number, article, section 9-37. Mr. Matthew Courtney, you here?
I'm here.
Come on up to the podium, please. You wanna talk to us?
I believe they were gonna go first.
Before we go any further, so Matthew, I just wanted to explain what was going on and what your, I guess, jurisdiction or what your authority was as a police jury. So Matthew Courtney is the, I guess, representative of a REIT training group who owns a piece of property in Johnson Bayou. It's in Ocean View subdivision. We have a local ordinance, Article 4, Section 9-37 regarding grass, weeds, and cleanliness. He is in violation according to our permit department. And so, as the owner or representative of the company that owns the piece of property, he's entitled to an opportunity to be heard. So today is his administrative hearing, and it's before you guys to make a decision on whether or not you agree that he's in violation or not.
Okay.
Forgive me, gentlemen, I only brought 4 copies of some of the relevant pictures, so if I could give one to every other one of you, maybe.
We've got all the pictures, I believe.
Oh, no, these are pictures that not these were taken. Public school teacher by trade, so I'll just say maybe share with you there. Our organization, Heritage Training Group, is a school. We teach people, we do research, we develop curriculum, things of that nature. When we purchased the properties in Cameron back in 2017, we bought one property on the beach, which is 144 Sarasota Avenue, and one property with a home on it at 110 Seabright.
right before we closed on the properties, Tropical Storm Cindy hit the beachfront property and did an extreme amount of damage. There was a lot of coastal erosion, so one of the things that we wanted to do was research how to better mitigate coastal erosion problems. And what we've been doing for the past 6 years is taking vegetation from the Seabright property, moving it a couple hundred yards to the Sarasota property and watering it, fertilizing it, hoping that it would grow and sustain the beach there. Of course, after the 2020 hurricanes, we started over, right? The erosion went all the way back to where it did, right after Tropical Storm Cindy. If you guys look at what I have labeled there as A, that is the northwest property corner. And it's labeled, Arete property on that corner is on the lower left. The Ferrex home is on the lower right. And the two properties that are on Waveland Avenue are right across. And they're identical. They're identical. And what the parish is telling me is that my vegetation is deleterious and noxious. The state authorizing statute actually uses the word sanitary. So for me to be in violation of your ordinance, it would have to be deleterious, noxious, and unsanitary. And I don't believe we are. Let's look at the next one that I have, labeled as B. It's a picture taken from Waveland Avenue, looking at the property from the rear. All of the same properties on Waveland Avenue have the exact same vegetation. And for some reason, only mine is deleterious and noxious. Number C here is an intersection of Gulfview and Sarasota Avenue, where the parish property at that intersection has the exact same vegetation growing on it. The exact same vegetation is growing on the parish property at that intersection. I won't go into every one of these. You guys seem to have a lot of common sense. My first meeting, I didn't know that. But a couple of the later pictures demonstrate that the vegetation that the parish is planting on the dune right there in front of Beach Boulevard is the exact same stuff that's growing on the 110 Seabright property 150 feet away. Parish is actively planting the exact same species of plants 150 feet away. Do you have any questions?
I guess we need a representative from the parish.
No, look, the only thing we have to say is that, you moved into a neighborhood that was a pre-existing, subdivision. And those parish residents have a right to complain if the grass is not mowed and maintained. And you talk about noxious and, sanitary, those places are nothing but rat nests. That's all that's good for. Now, the only place in that neighborhood that we don't allow the grass being mowed is an Audubon Society, and that's clearly designated and you're not in it. So all we're asking you to do is follow the parish rules and mow your grass.
And what I have asked of you guys, and I've spoken to a couple of you individually, is that part of the research that we're doing is based on the idea that vegetation that is native to Southwest Cameron will be the best thing to plant on the beach to mitigate coastal erosion. And one of the things that I've asked several of you guys is just, hey, if you let me dig weeds out of the ditches to plant on the beach, I will mow that and keep it mowed. And you guys have told me no every single time I've asked. I think, I talked to, Mr. Fountain, Mr. Trahan about that.
Now, I wouldn't met you, and you was, we had some complaints about.
Yeah, I was down there on the beach.
Yeah, you was planting stuff all the way to the Gulf, you know, like trying to stop people from passing. That's what I had complaints about. Now, what property you talking about as far as?
No, he's talking about, the one that's in question is the house that he owns.
Yeah, this is the one, this right property, right around the corner from there. We're digging up vegetation there and moving it forward to the 144 Sarasota Avenue property. And all of the property at 144 Sarasota Avenue, where we're planting stuff and putting sand fence, is above the mean high tide line. Somebody at some point complained to the Louisiana Department of Natural Resources, saying that we're blocking the beach. I mailed a letter to the Louisiana Department of Natural Resources, and then I called the guy, and we're not blocking the beach. The only time that the Gulf of Mexico intersects with our vegetation and the sand fence that we placed out there is when there's a storm tide that exceeds 4 feet high.
Your property, borders the Long's property.
There's a 50-foot gap.
And
There's
that-
one line in between.
That vegetation and other pieces of equipment and trash and everything else is on that property. And it's going on to the Long's property. And they're the ones that wants it cleaned up. We want it cleaned up because that's a subdivision. It's not to be raising grass.
What equipment and trash are you talking about?
There's all kinds of stuff over there. There's a buggy over there. There's all kinds of stuff on the cement. All of the stuff alongside the side of it, I've seen it myself. As far as me talking to you, I've never talked to you.
We've talked on the phone, sir, and we've texted.
I'm sorry, I don't know who you are. I have my phone right here and I guarantee you, you're not on it.
We've texted.
Whatever. I'm telling you, what you need to do is clean the place. There's an ordinance saying it needs to be cleaned up. You're in violation. The people that's living next door to you is having to put rat poison out and everything else to try to keep the stuff out of their yard. That's the problem.
Did you see the pictures?
I've seen the picture. I've seen it myself.
Yeah, all the adjoining properties look just like mine. There is no substantial difference between the vegetation on the adjoining properties and the vegetation on the 110 Seabright property.
Are there homes on those properties?
On one of them, yes. The Ferrex home is on the property directly to the north.
Okay. If you turn them in, guess what? They'll get a notification to clean that property up because that is our ordinance.
Probably y'all been out there and looked at the property?
Yes, sir.
It is what y'all said it is?
Yes, it is.
So I think we don't have no problem with clean your stuff up. I mean, if they've been out there and looked at it and it's what it is.
And this
It'll be
in our
done in
warranty.
30 days if you let me harvest vegetation out of the ditches to
Yeah,
plant on the beach.
Mr. President, this is his second violation letter he's
Yes.
received.
He doesn't want to cut grass. I think you don't want to cut it.
I have no issue whatsoever with cutting the grass or cleaning anything up. My simple concern is that we be able to have some source of vegetation that is grown nearby that we can plant on the beach. That's our only concern.
Second violation in how many months?
And the first violation was sent out in November of last year.
And I told you I was gonna take care of that, and I did, because it
Yes,
was
you
the
did.
right time of the year to be trimming that vegetation, to have it come back stronger to replant on the beach
The
this
first
spring.
violation was sent out November 3rd of 2022, and he did state he would cut it by December 15th. And then another violation was sent out May 16th of this year.
I'd like to
Stating-
say this, and not to single you out or anything. You're in a subdivision, you have rules, you need to keep your grass mowed. If you wanna plant grass plant on the dunes, that's fine, and then that's great.
I gotta
But
take
you
it from
can't do it-
somewhere.
But you can't do it in the subdivision.
Everybody else is doing the same thing in the subdivision.
I don't
You've got the pictures. They're right there
Let
in
me just
front of
say
you.
that just respectfully, the only thing on our agenda today is the 110 Seabright. There's no other properties that have been submitted to the permit department, or there's no other permit investigations going on any other properties. The only thing on our agenda today is the 110 Seabright, and he's presented his evidence, and his opportunity to be heard has been heard by you guys, and your decision is simply whether to see that he's in violation of the ordinance or not.
All right,
Before we take action on
we gotta vote on this, or we
Vote on
take
that.
on it right now, or we, is
The notes that I got was that it would take place during the voting meeting, but you guys will decide.
it on the voting meeting?
Is it on the agenda?
I got a question. What are we voting on? We have an ordinance.
Yeah.
He's been notified.
Yeah, we shouldn't have to vote
What
on that.
other action do you need from us? Is to uphold the ordinances? If we need to do that, so be it.
So if you uphold the ordinance, he has to cut the grass. If he does not cut the grass, the ordinance allows for the parish to come in and cut the grass.
Okay.
And then charge
That's it.
him.
Because I don't think every time we have an issue with that, we should be having a public meeting for that.
Yeah,
We've got to follow the rules.
No, we're gonna figure it out once and for all right here. I mean, I'm not gonna say that, you know,
Okay.
I'm gonna do this every time. You know, again, last time when I got the letter, I said what I was gonna
The
do.
statute that
And I did
gives
it.
the parish the opportunity to create these types of ordinances gives the landowner the opportunity to be heard. So he's been heard, and so a decision will be voted on at the special meeting by you guys.
That statute
okay.
actually uses the very specific word sanitary.
All right, thank you very much. We will let you know something. Okay, before we go to number 5, I think the green card I got is from Dorla Fall, Crab Fest, Holly Beach, Recognition Festival in ordinance.
She just wanted me to come up here by her, fact, she didn't meet her by herself.
Good morning, I'm Darla Fall, me and my husband Steve own Louisiana Souvenirs in Holly Beach. We have many events, we had a crab festival last year, and we're having it again this year, it's really big. We would like to be recognized as a state festival, as a recognized festival for the ordinance.
Okay,
Does that take action from us, or would that be the tourism?
Yes, I believe that's
Okay,
what y'all do.
okay, they want.
Hey, legally, Tom, is that what she's saying, is that correct? I'm not questioning your word, I just want
Right.
to make sure that we get the legal.
Well, I don't know what I'm doing either.
Making it a recognizable festival like
Seeking
everything else.
your wisdom.
You have an ordinance that lists half a dozen events, fur festival, fishing festival, among others, that allows food trucks for those special limited circumstances, those weekend things. She's asking that their event be added to that list, so that they have food trucks, for those special occasions.
Is that on the
And it is in a designated area.
We ran into a real big problem this year because we have 4 food trucks allowed. We have 3 hot dog snow cone trucks, and we have Hilicious food truck. We had Cajun Girls Cooking for last year, and they were supposed to come back, but because the 4 permits have been issued, they couldn't come back. So
Okay.
we were limited to 1 truck.
So I guess the fair and festivals
they can allow them to come
supersede.
in.
Yeah. Mary, is this,
Just once a year you do this?
Yes, the Crab Festival will be every June.
Mary, is this on the agenda?
Yes.
Not y'all get
We'd have to add on.
We're gonna do an add-on. I'm right.
So you can, again, add that as a weekend event with your other 5 or 6 events. They still have to comply with the state regulations. I mean, it's the easiest way to say it. We don't control the state regs, but they have to comply with all those regulations.
Okay.
We're just adding them.
It would also allow us to have like kettle corn and things
Yeah.
like that wouldn't have to come
Anything
in and
coming
buy
up
a
for
permit
that
for
2-day
that.
festival.
Yeah, I'm,
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
We're gonna request that be put on as
That
an
would be
add-on.
great, that would be
Days.
such a big benefit.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, we'll put it on there and vote on it this afternoon.
Wonderful, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
All right.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Tom.
All right, let's go to number 5, consider ordinance change to allow food truck permits on Chenier premises.
Might as well just stay.
I don't know who, did one of y'all ask this be put on the agenda?
Oh, I can probably voice system. They were requested by Ryan to vacate, if I'm not mistaken, the trucks that were coming after we did our 6-month deal. One of the things that we have on this is that they're not allowing their people to leave for lunch anymore, so it's not gonna affect local business. I'd like to have some kind of a deal set in the ordinance to kind of, I guess, eliminate the industrial areas such as Venture and Chenier from what they do inside their fence. They wanna do it inside their fence, and it's inside Chenier's fence, and allow them to have those food trucks, but they still gonna have to comply with the health department. I mean, it's not an enforcement.
Correct, yeah, we can't regulate or unregulate whatever the state says they have to do. We can't
Right.
control that. And I think we emailed somebody in the state, as simple
Yeah.
as just
So-
adding that geographical, and we don't have meets and bounds, just the area of the plant within their gates and their area that they could have food trucks that, those food trucks would be exempt from our permit requirements. Is that what we're at?
Do we do it one time for all industrial areas?
Yeah, we can add a sentence, a paragraph that says, industrial LNG plants or, can have food trucks and they're exempt from
Instead of having.
permit statute. I mean, that,
Right, but
Just
those
be
food trucks, they didn't travel, they just strictly went into the plant, that's, I think that's.
Yeah, they went into the plant, they leave every day.
When they go in the plant, they serve, and then when they come out, they go back, wherever they come from, so they don't,
that's, yeah.
and I'm assuming.
I just wanna make sure that we'll draft something that addresses your request. It's just basically allow our statute regarding control or regulation of food, our ordinance regarding regulation of food trucks will not apply to food trucks that go within the gates of a LNG plant.
I don't know, I think you would still want them to permit with us, wouldn't you? Like apply for.
Well, I don't want them to be
a permit?
limited, I don't want them to be limited in the number of permits like we give for Cameron or anything
Okay.
like that. If they need to be permitted and there's a reason for it, I'm willing to listen. But it's inside controlled areas, inside a gate.
All right.
They have to have access passes.
They have to have
get
a
in.
permit,
Yeah.
but there's not a limit if it's within the
Exactly.
LNG compound. Okay. All right. Yeah, I just,
Yep, it would just be the ordinance change. We have Village of Cameron, Holly Beach, it would just be line 3.
We won't be
for-
prepared to do that today. So we won't.
no, we have to draft it, we have to advertise, well,
Yeah, it's gonna be, it's on the agenda just for authority to advertise once
to amend the
ordinance
ordinance.
is.
Okay.
Well, we don't want that just for, Chanel, we want that.
No, I said,
Yeah.
I'll just say LNG facilities, LNG plants, their sites within
They just
their
have to be-
boundaries.
Inside their boundaries would be the way to play.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
We'll make it generic to LNG plant.
But, so then what that does, it kills you, like, I can understand the Johnson Bayou Sheriff, they're not gonna let their employees off the premises. But what happens if Venture lets their employees off the premises and we allow food trucks to go into Venture, it's gonna kill these local businesses right here.
Well, I don't think, like Gammon said, I don't think he's gonna, unhook his to bring it in the, or.
But you got
the-
Pepsi right here.
I don't
Right
think
now,
Tracy's gonna turn loose of it either.
I mean, I don't know, I'm just kind
It's a
of,
policy decision that you're making.
The reason that they're outside here now is I don't think Venture allows them inside, am I correct?
I don't know.
We'd have to find out.
Yeah.
Find out.
I mean, but if Venture says, okay, we're gonna put food trucks in here, it kills your local businesses right
We don't
here.
wanna
I
do
understand in Johnson Bayou, if they're not letting their guys off the premises, that's great, that's a great idea to me.
But it can't pick and choose.
We can't really leave either.
I mean, but
Well, you're doing it
One
now.
help the other.
You're doing it now, allowing Holly Beach and the Village of Cameron limited permits and not,
Yeah, I mean, it's a,
you have Joe has just described a policy reason for not allowing it in the Village of Cameron, that the Venture plant as opposed to Johnson Bayou, the Chenier plant, because of availability.
Yeah.
I don't, look,
let's do this. Let's use this one as a test. We'll contact Cameron LNG, Venture, and ask them if they wanna be included in this, and we can always come back in a minute.
permit
Good.
department can investigate.
it'll work.
If them LNG companies don't want a food truck, they don't have to they don't have to.
Yeah.
But if, in order, in the future, if they say, yeah, we want one, or they may wanna start catering some projects, certain times of the week, then they have the ordinance that allows them to do that.
They already cater inside these plants. They already cater.
We don't have anybody.
Yeah, let's say we got people in their plant.
But I think right now that the burden is on the Chenier people.
Yeah.
I'd like to see them help as soon as possible, because the guys are the ones that are suffering. It's
Yeah, I'm good with that.
not the company, they wanna make sure that their employees are taken care of, but the guys are having to suffer, they haven't even packed lunch or.
Yeah, no, I'm good with that. I mean, if they can't get off the premises, that's a great idea. But, you know, I don't wanna do something here in Cameron or in Hackberry that hurts the local businesses, you know.
It's not,
That's the reason we don't have them in Hackberry.
it's not a big deal to amend your ordinance. It's just a matter of time, advertising, hearings, adopting. So we can do it for the Chenier plant. If Cameron LNG wants to be included, they have some representatives here, they can contact us, say, hey, yeah, we'd like that option. If we don't hear from them, then we'll just keep it Chenier, for now. Is that a fair assessment?
I'm good.
Okay,
I'm good with
all
that.
right.
Yep.
And please, Cameron LNG, just let us know, if you're interested in being included. Before we got off this topic, at the last meeting, there were some concerns, complaints, issues about Holly Beach, the food trucks, the permits, food trucks that are permitted for Holly Beach, and the lack of those food trucks appearing and executing their permits and not being there. So we sent letters, my office sent a letter to the 4 permit holders. 3 of them got delivered. We had a bad address on one of them. We've heard from all of them basically saying, for the 3 that we contacted, that's not true. We do go there. Now, they may not go there as often, but they say we do go. So they have sent some emails and things. So they told them they didn't have to be, I don't know if anybody's here today for those 3 food, okay. But they wanted me to represent to you that they do go. Now, so that's number 1. Number 2 is I've drafted, is it on the agenda for this afternoon? So for your consideration, you do not have to do this, but I drafted it based on, again, conversations we had the last meeting and conversations with permit department, some of you individually, and some of these permit holders, that for the Holly Beach area, what we've proposed in the ordinance, and you don't have to adopt it, it's just for consideration. But if you do adopt it, it's basically that for the Holly Beach area, the permit would be a 10-day permit. So we had 4, so Holly Beach with 4 permits, 10-day permits, you use them, you're done, and that way, if you have somebody, it's not an annual permit, so you're stuck with that one person for a whole 12 months, and that might entice people to then come and get a permit for that 10 days, and you can make it long, you make it 30 days, whatever you feel. I put 10 days because it would cover, give them enough time to get here maybe on a Thursday for a week, 2 weekends ahead. I mean, you can make it however long you want. I just threw in 10 days as a placeholder, so that if they're not using it, or if, they just don't have it and hold it and not use it. That's how we address the issue. So if you want to address it some other way, but it was a limited time period, not a whole 12 months. But again, it could be 30 days, it could be 15 days, it can be whatever.
I don't think it should exceed 10 days.
It's your choice. I mean,
Is that gonna be a burden on the permit department?
Yes. Yes, so we actually have a meeting at 1 o'clock to give the permit staff the opportunity to discuss openly with you guys on, maybe what they would like to see moving forward. So at 1 o'clock, we will have a public meeting, and we will only discuss food truck.
I didn't know we had a 1 o'clock meeting I'm gonna sit down.
Yeah, on the thing, Gary said.
What I just said.
It was on the thing. Yeah, all right, let's move on to number 6. Kim Monte, Port Director, got an update on our Orchestra Park.
Good morning, gentlemen. Kind of an update for y'all as well as the public. As you know, this is a new venture for Southwest Louisiana, not new for the rest of the country or the Northeast. But I guess as many times as I can share with, just so everybody is aware, alternative oyster culture, sometimes referred to as AOC, is gonna happen here. We the last time I updated y'all, we had grantees they were looking at, but they had not awarded the money to yet. Sea Grant and Iberia Development have signed all of their forms and have granted the money to 6 oystermen in our area, 1 from Calcasieu and 5 from Cameron. It was $45,000 grants. It by in no way completely gives them enough money to set up what they need to do, but it gives them a good start. The park is now ready. So the park is the whole entity. Within the park, there are 15 approximately 2-acre plots that are set up with lanes between them, 50 feet boat lanes between them. And each one of those plots will be leased out on a year's basis. Oysters will be grown in cages, floating in the water column where the nutrients are. The seeds will go from thumbnail size to harvestable oysters in 6 to 12 months at the longest, where our traditional oysters are 18 to 24 months to harvest. This gives kind of a totally different market to the bunch. Most of our Cameron oysters are traditionally shucked, sold on the shucked market. This is a half-shell oyster. Because of the wave action in the cages, in the water, they're shaped differently. Then by handling, it is a very labor-intensive endeavor. So they handle the oysters daily or several times a week. And they end up being a rounder, deeper oyster that is desirable on the half-shell market. So we have our 6 guys. We've advertised several times in the pilot. We've put it on our Facebook page, on our website. I have applications available. We have 9 plots left in the park, 9 2-acre plots. In a 1-acre area in these cages, they can raise about 150,000 oysters. So you're talking about 300,000 oysters in a 2-acre area. So this could be a very profitable venture for our traditional oystermen, not in any way in a conflict with them at all. It's a completely different market, a completely different oyster. So I guess I just wanted the update given to the public and the update given to you guys on, we have 9 plots left, and so if any of your constituents are interested, please tell them to contact me at the port office or email me, call my cell phone, whatever it takes.
There's a lot of over here in Cameron have been asking about it, but one thing is the other ones having a grant, so I don't know what it would cost them to get up and going even right out of their pockets.
Tell them to come visit me. I can sit and talk with them about it. Mainly what they have to invest in is the cages and the bags, depending on what size oysters they have. You know, and it is an expense for the equipment and the cages. But if they're interested, the worst thing that I want to happen is they not get the opportunity to do it.
Right.
The port is not making any money on this. It could even be done at a loss if the park is not full. We do carry a liability policy that is quite expensive, insurance policy, and so I do eventually need to get the park pretty full. I have had quite a bit of interest from the southeast where they've already got their oyster parks going over there, and they're interested in having plots over here. I want to hold off on that until we make sure all of our people that are interested have the opportunity to be in the park.
Good, that's good.
Do you have any idea how much one of those traps costs?
I don't. I don't. They said that the $45,000 grant would, and see, the thing about it is the cages, until the oysters get big enough that they don't go through the wire, they keep them in mesh bags. And I think the mesh bags is what you've got to have a lot of because they do grow rapidly. So you change the size of the bag because you want as much water flow as you can get. So you want the mesh on the bag as big as you can get it. But I don't.
Okay.
I do have people that can help them with that though.
Any more questions?
Thank you.
The only question I got, y'all in the oyster, y'all familiar with item that we have on the, for permitting with the University of Louisiana, with the Sabine Lake monitoring? Y'all involved?
I saw that on the agenda, but I'm not familiar.
Yeah, I know the funds are coming from Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries, it's funded by them, so, but that's, you know, I don't really know much
I want to
about
bring it to the board's attention in the sense that you guys seem to be kind of handling the Orchard, we might as well handle it for a whole parish, so, y'all check in on that, I appreciate it.
Will do.
All right,
All right, thank you, ma'am.
thank you.
Okay, we're gonna go to number 7. We've been beating this horse for several years. Dog ordinance, you know. Ernest Mount.
Okay, like you said, we've been beating this, we've done beat it to death, so we're gonna have to come to a conclusion with the sheriff. Sheriff, if you don't mind stepping up here. I've been getting a lot of calls, and my backside's got plenty of Band-Aids on it right now. But, we need to come to a conclusion how we're gonna handle this. I know the sheriff has mentioned there's a state regulation, but there's also our ordinance that we have here in Cameron, and we need to come to a conclusion how we're gonna handle it. I know that, I think one of the things is that we have, as a jury, have to have, housing for these dogs, whatever they capture. And by law, I think, we found out that these things have to be air conditioned and everything else, and, I just don't know about air conditioning dogs that bite people. I got their air conditioning, and it's not that.
Right. Thank you, Curtis. You're right on everything. Now, the facility is supposed to be maintained by the parish or the municipality or other subdivision in the state. Has to be built, operated, and maintained. The actual act of picking up the animals like vicious dogs or whatever is, according to the parish, is the responsibility of the sheriff's office. Back a long time ago when we had our first meeting, Joe and Lee wasn't even police juryman then, and Kirk was there. There was an ordinance, it was a state deal that says if a parish had an ordinance, then they was responsible for that action of picking it up. But the way I read it right now, that only applies to parishes with populations of over 50,000. So you can commission someone, but we are already commissioned to write misdemeanor summons, to enforce the law part of that ordinance, and that's what we do. Now, the bottom line is we have to get it under control and work together as two entities to be able to pick up the dogs, have a place to bring them, and if they need picking up, your ordinances on your dogs or the nuisance animals and stuff are pretty clear. There's not a problem with that, where we can write misdemeanor summons, and we can even pick up vicious dogs. Once a dog that we deem is vicious, Tom, help me out on this. If you need to, feel free to step up. Then that actually has to go to court before it's euphemized, and we have to have a place to keep it in the meantime. And Tom and I has, but bottom line is, when it's time, when we have a place to bring them, then the sheriff's office, according to the parish ordinance, and we need to hire someone to pick up those dogs and take care of it. We tried it through the parish. That did not work out because the parish dog catcher had 2 different bosses. So I think the best solution in the interest of the parish, if we come to having a dog catcher, animal control person, is to have that run through the sheriff's office, because we dispatch them and we 24/7. What we're gonna have to talk about is where Tom comes in. It's so I don't say more than I'm supposed to, and we've talked about that too. So there's different options.
Well, my question is, the a suggestion came up, actually this morning, which it's been questioned before. I mean, you know, we feeding a bunch of prisoners, feeding them a lot. And, can we give them a job? Can they be any part of that, Tom?
Inmates operating as trustees is the discretion of the sheriff's office. As to what degree, what latitude they're given is again up to the sheriff's office, and I don't think you can, I don't speak for the sheriff, but I don't think you can just give keys to a truck for the trustee to go around picking up dogs.
I didn't mean that.
Okay, no, I didn't, maybe I missed, you mean just to feed them every day?
Take care of them anyway.
Again, that's the sheriff's discretion. I mean, and we thank him because we have some inmates, trustees, helping clean up, our grounds right now. So that's helpful to, and makes, you know, our area look clean and neat. But again, that's the sheriff's discretion. And that's probably a more logistical, operational question. On this issue, I'd like for y'all to look at it in two fashions: nuisance dog and vicious dogs, and they're different. If you have a vicious dog, there's a statute under our criminal statutes where you find homicide, burglary, DWIs. There's a statute on vicious, dangerous dogs. But you can tell you, a year or two ago, he had some bad dogs, attacked a kid, sent it to the emergency room. Sheriff's office responded to that complaint. They will respond to a complaint. They will do a report. In that case, they did it. We took the report, we turned around, we filed a petition, and all this happened quickly, matter of days and weeks. And we had the court rule that that was a vicious dog under the statute. It fit the definition because it attacked the deputy as well as the kid. And we had a court order, and we had it picked up and euthanized. Again, this is all probably within 30 days. That's quick for a court order and execution. That's a vicious dog. Sheriffs, they've worked with us there. I don't know if it's any more common or less common, I don't know. But when you talk about nuisance, so you just have a dog that's just causing trouble. It's not vicious, it's not attacking, it's just
Stray dog.
It's a stray dog, or
Running around the neighborhood.
whatever it may be. It's a nuisance. It's under our ordinance. I'm not able to go to the court, get a court order to euthanize it. That's more of just a problem. So what I've done is Calcasieu, Beauregard, this is how they handle it. The police jury is responsible for the shelter. So if you want somebody to pick up dogs, you have to provide shelter. What the shelter looks like, the regulations, I'm not familiar, not gonna get into that, but you are responsible, and so those entities, those police juries provide that shelter. In Beauregard, as Sheriff Johnson has mentioned, they find it better if that dog catcher, so to speak, the person who's picking up the dog, works for the sheriff, because then that person is responsive to the sheriff. Versus what we had a few years ago is you had somebody working for you, the police jury. That person was not responsive or did not have to answer the sheriff. And when that person was dispatched by the sheriff's office to address a dog issue, whether it be a nuisance or a vicious dog, they were not responsive. So if that person works for the sheriff's office, then they answer to the sheriff and they're gonna do their job. That's what Beauregard does. Sheriff provides that personnel, provides their benefits, but there's a facility and a budget that goes into the operation of that facility paid by the police jury. Similar to Calcasieu, they have an animal control, but the police jury pays for it, and those personnel work for the police jury. Who the person works for, I like the sheriff's idea, I like the Beauregard model, because again, that person is responsive to the sheriff and will do their job, as opposed to somebody getting paid $12 an hour that doesn't feel like getting out their couch because they get a call.
Could I go to the courthouse and jail along with his?
Wait, what was the question?
Could that be taken care of at the courthouse and jail?
Tax?
Tax and stuff, you know, or?
No, we have, so you're asking, so we have
As a
we have
person or-
we have a property tax for no, I don't, that's not gonna fit with.
On the expenses?
No, that's not gonna fit within the courthouse jail. So, that's the short and long of it, is ultimately, you're responsible for the housing of these dogs, those quarters to house dogs. I think, you know, a contract CEA with the sheriff's office for them, sheriff to provide a personnel, or his personnel would go pick up the dogs, but they'd bring them to your facility. Who managed, what personnel actually operated the facility, again, would be a matter of, you know, how y'all wanted to do that.
I read on some of this, Tom and Police Chairman, the operation of the facilities is not only the building and construction, how the facility is, but how it's maintained. I hate to trust that to the trustees. They do the jobs we ask them to do, but quite a while back when the trustees was feeding them in this area back here, that was back when Sono was sheriff. They wasn't doing a sufficient job, and that's something that has to be done by a person that's some type of training, some type of certification to do that. I believe that we have to have someone that we know is going to do the job in that, and the animal control shelter person, you don't have to have that, but I suggest that the parish has someone look after that facility in a proper fashion. And when it's time to even pick up a dog from that facility and transport it to be euthymized, if the parish would have that type of facility, then the sheriff's office would come into play again for that transportation, because we would have the transportation with the kennels, vehicles, and that type of thing.
My thing is, oh, I'm sorry.
I just had one question, and it's always gonna come down to this. If you've been talking with Board Guard, what is their budget to run this facility?
I just talked to the DA, and he probably he couldn't answer that probably anyway. But what he did tell me is that, they had somebody donate a large amount of money to help build their facility. So it was a contribution from a nationwide company that is into, you know, and they're not allowed to euthanize dogs. Part of that deal was you had to find homes for them. So their budget, but what their annual operations are, I have no idea, and I would think it would be higher than what ours would be. Before we get into building a facility, back when we had the issue at Big Lake, we had some discussions with Calcasieu and their again, the police jury's attorney there, and we never got to the actual meetings of having a discussion about doing a CEA, a cooperative endeavor agreement with Calcasieu. I don't know if they even would be willing to do it, because I don't know what kind of room they have. I don't know if they have space available. We wouldn't have a large demand or need, but it would be worth. That would be my recommendation. I sent a text message this morning to their attorney, asking if we could revisit this issue, and do they have room for a few extra dogs and that kind of thing.
That would be my suggestion, and that's what I was thinking. If we could do a CEA with Calcasieu Parish and maybe even add to their dog catcher's salary. I mean, you know, something like that, to be able to you know, come down here, because we don't have this every day.
Right.
We don't have this a whole lot.
Yeah, and if I may, I mean, we have, since 2020, we haven't actually had an active animal control program. And how many people have complained in 3 years? And you guys, you have a very limited amount of unrestricted funds, the budget. And you fund the sheriff's office, and the DA office, and the judge's office, and you feed the prisoners. And so all of that takes money away from what we should be doing, which is roads, bridges, coastal protection, hurricane protection burns. And so that $300,000 a year to pay someone to run this dog facility and build it, that's $300,000 less every year you have to take care of your people. So I would really take this topic back, maybe table it, really think about it, where your priorities are, and what you think your constituents want to spend their money on, because I promise you, if it's between spending that kind of money every year for 2 dogs maybe versus protecting their home, I can probably guarantee you what they're gonna say.
That's exactly what I just finished saying. I mean, if we could make something happen with Calcasieu Parish, because we have very seldom do we have this,
Yeah.
but when we have it, we have it, and we gotta make a decision on.
The budget's $1 million a year, so,
Yeah.
I mean, you really need to prioritize where you wanna spend it, and I just don't know if your priority should be housing a few dogs.
Yeah,
I'm
we,
not in agreement with no dogs. I think you ought to handle your own dog problem at your house.
yeah,
Dogs on
so,
property,
I agree with Katie 100%, and that's why I talked about nuisance opposed to vicious. If you have a dog attack, you have a vicious dog, the sheriff's office will investigate, get us a report, we will go forward with that. And we'll go pick up, we found a way to get that, we worked, and we didn't have anybody in the parish that would euthanize a dog, and so we had, somebody in my office was willing to call somebody they knew in Sulphur that would, anyway, we'll fix that vicious dog. We'll take care of that. But these everyday nuisance, yeah, you're talking about spending hundreds of thousands of dollars.
That's the problem, we don't have that every day.
So I've sent the text, I will follow up with Calcasieu's attorney, get with Katie and her staff and put some meetings together and see if there's something we can work out. Because again, it's not something we need very often, and if we can work something out with Calcasieu.
Well, we have an ordinance, and the ordinance has to be changed.
If we can't work with Calcasieu, maybe Jeff Davis.
Well, years ago, didn't we, that's what we did, didn't we have something with,
Well, it
Calcasieu.
started with, we would bring on a Calcasieu
Yeah.
and then Jeff Davis, and then it turned into, at some point, we were paying employees overtime to go feed this dog, and spending how many thousands of dollars a year in dog food, while we held this dog,
Yep.
not trying to find someone to house it and waiting for its court date, and, I mean, we
We-
spent a lot of money over the
We
years.
had before Hurricane Laura, we had a run on nuisance dogs.
Yes.
And some of them were, in one instance, we had to pick up, a truckload of dogs, 'cause somebody had like a camper trailer at Holly Beach and had like 10 dogs in it, so we ended up with 10 dogs. It might have been 12 or 15, and it was a big expense for a short period of time. But that's not the normal. I mean, again, one dog every 6 months we're getting a phone call about. So let us explore other entities that we might be able to contract with. And just see what we can do.
I agree with that.
And I just say this, there's one thing about a biting dog and a barking dog. I don't think we need to go the route of the barking dog. We have to go the route of the biting dog.
Well, that's up to the police jury. We continue to, take care of those, complaints. If we do get a complaint on a barking dog, and the procedure is we write them a misdemeanor summons, we don't pick up the dog. If the police jury wants to change that, then that's fine. Y'all have pretty good ordinances in place right now, and we continue to write the misdemeanor summons for them, the law enforcement in.
I know, but when it gets to a certain point,
So on we call it the nuisance dog, the barking dog, whatever the nuisance may be. The sheriff is correct. They will issue a ticket to that owner, hey, your dog, and so then it comes to us to prosecute the nuisance dog. Right now, it's under your ordinance, and the first offense is $25 and $50 and $75. If you want to, you could increase that fine, and they can pay the $25 out of court. So we just had it happen the other day. Somebody had a ticket for a nuisance dog, called, I just want to send my $25 in. So that's something to consider if you want to increase it to 100, 200, 300, as a deterrent to those nuisance owners.
right, but what I'm saying is, we need to cut out the housing of the dog and keep the part that we can have the sheriff issue citation.
But no, we don't house, so those nuisance dogs we're not housing. They're getting a citation, dog's not picked up, because we don't have a mechanism to pick them up, we don't have a place to put them. But they do get a citation, so there are some consequences, just it's $25. So
Yeah, you bump that up a little bit, make it.
it's something to consider, it's a policy decision, would that deter people and make people pay more attention to their nuisance dog, keep it in their yard, keep it locked up, chained up, whatever, it's just.
Well, we need to review the ordinance and change the ordinance to fit what you say.
That's a consideration that
You
you
did an excellent job on the vicious dog deal. It was over in my area. I'm telling you, that was perfect.
but we did what we had to do.
When I was the justice of the peace, I handled a lot of nuisance dogs calls. People would come, dog went, killed chickens, tore up flower beds and stuff like that. People came to JP court and they filed lawsuits, money suits against the dog owners. And when they tearing up your yard and your stuff, that can get to be pretty expensive. Those people did not wanna pay that kind of money for what their dog was doing. We took care of a lot of dog incidences like that.
You're looking for a deterrent, and money, penalties, civil judgments are a
We can
deterrent.
pull that ordinance, Katie, and so we can review that, please.
I think we need to.
I think I shall have your
Give
last
it-
draft from like 6 years ago.
Yeah, let Tom get with doing what he's gonna do with Calcasieu and come back.
They'll explore that and we'll report to you.
Yeah, that's great.
I'll send it
All right,
Good, 'cause I don't have it.
let's go to review your agendas.
While you guys are reviewing your agendas, I'd like to introduce our 2 new hires that are training to be our new inspectors and certified building code officials. Go ahead, stand up, Clayton and Bubba. This is Clayton Guidry and Bubba Murray. And so the public, you'll start seeing them out and about. You're gonna start seeing Miles and Randy a lot less and see these 2 guys a lot more often. They'll always be in a parish vehicle if they pull up to your house, and we are getting them some parish issued shirts. That way they're easily identified as staff, but they're our newest employees.
Hackberry.
Agner,
South Lake Charles.
South Lake South. Good deal, glad to have y'all aboard.
Thank you for that. I think we need to be introduced to every new employee hired. Thank you.
I got one question, that B on permits. Do you have any idea what that entails?
I know it's a monitoring project that LDWH is funding. I can submit.
Is it in one place, multiple
Yes,
places?
it's Sabine Lake, it's kinda right north of the, first curve.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll show you the plat,
Okay.
yeah.
And, the only other question I got, I'll turn it back over to you, is, 13, Yeah, what is that?
This is just for the elections. We have to identify the geographic boundaries of Cameron.
Okay, so we're talking about voting boundaries. Okay.
The parish.
Okay, now, it said geographical limits, I was wondering like, okay, we
Yeah.
get bigger or smaller or?
No, the taxing
Okay.
district.
That's all I have, Joe.
Did we ever get, Katie, did we ever get the maps from, Kate Cohen? I was absent last month, but like each voting district reached the maps right where everybody knows where their districts are at and where the people know.
We actually contracted Mr. Hefner to do some taxing district maps. He's working on those. We're waiting for one more of the precinct consolidations to be finalized, and then we'll have them ready to release. That way, we'll have per taxing district, and every precinct will be identified in each taxing district as well. So, the end of this month.
Item number 10, consideration of approval of Southwest Virginia Criminal Lake
Yes.
Laboratory budget. What is that number of money?
There's actually no money. This is a free service to us, which is why y'all approved their budget. I actually got an email from Tracy that says, there's no cost for Cameron Parish to use the crime lab. We serve all of the agencies in the 5 parish area at no cost. We are funded by law by tickets, court cost bonds, and an invoice that the judge can order the defendant on a case to pay as a court by court basis. The sheriff of Calcasieu Parish does pay half of the salaries voluntarily as a donation to the lab to help with costs. The Cameron District Attorney's Office did give us a donation of $10,000 last year. The Calcasieu Parish Police is also helping fund the new lab that is being built at this time, so it does not cost us to utilize it.
The crime lab is, we have to have it to prosecute our criminal cases, particularly the drug cases. The $10,000, so, that came out of our pretrial diversion money. So the legislature, about a year or two ago, we do pretrial diversion. So if you don't know what that is, if somebody gets a ticket, their first ticket they've had in at least 5 years, and it's not too fast, and we can divert them from court into this program. And then my office is entitled to retain that money. And what I can use that money is very limited purposes. And one of them was added to help them. So we made a $10,000 contribution with those funds. It wasn't your budget money, it wasn't tax dollars, it was basically people paying tickets that helped. But so that's what I wanted to make sure that you understood where the $10,000 came from.
Oh, good.
Okay.
That's the first,
We'll go for that.
budget that we ain't never had to pay. I always want money.
Item 17, did something else happen to the courthouse and jail that we don't know about? I know,
No.
I've seen this a couple times.
Y'all approved the bids last month, this is just president authority to sign the contract, so work can get started.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Any more questions?
Mr. President.
Indicator, you got anything?
What's that?
Yes, I do.
That's what she's gonna marry to, doesn't it?
So, I do want to give an update on the elevation reconstruction hazard mitigation grant. We still do not have the project approved. FEMA is still reviewing it. They asked for updated pictures in May. So we submitted those updated pictures of all of the addresses that were submitted. They have that since May. They keep telling us that, they're going through the BCA and they're gonna approve it shortly. I do anticipate that it will be by the end of this summer. But for now, we just have to sit and wait for FEMA to go through all of its review and its different agencies that have to sign off on these programs. So unfortunately, we have to wait. I know Ghost Up promised everyone it would be an expedited grant this go round, and it looks like it's going slower than it did faster. So I wish I had better news. Since I'm talking about bad news, I'll go ahead and touch on the pontoon bridge. They are looking at the rehab versus replacement option right now. For rehab, the bridge, they're thinking that the budget would be $22 million, which they had. But still, under the best case scenario, they still wouldn't have it fixed until at the earliest July 2028. While they would be working on the bridge, rehabbing it, they think they could expand the life cycle of the bridge by 30 years, but it would stay closed to vehicular traffic, probably more than 80% of the time while they are working on the bridge. The replacement option that they're considering, now that is an $87 million to expand bridge that they're looking at, and the lifespan of that would be more like about the same time frame, 2050 is what they would expect to get out of it. And again, that would even be further down the line. They're looking at best case scenario fall of 2033 before it would be finished. So like I said, I wish I had better news, but that's where they are right now.
I just don't understand. You get a marine tug that comes there and hits that bridge and tears it up, all right? That marine tug is gonna pay for that damage. I don't understand why the state could not get a contractor there working 24/7. They ain't paying for it. The state's not paying for it. The marine tug's gonna pay for it. They should have that damn bridge open. They should have it. Somebody working on that bridge 24/7. And I want you to contact every state rep you know and express my feelings. I don't know how these other guys feel about it, but this is unacceptable. If this would be a parish bridge, in 4 days we'd have had it open.
Yeah, but they don't have them on
We
the
could have
piers.
built a brand new arm in 4 days.
But we got a Monty Pierce to do that. They
That's
don't-
right.
We don't have nobody like that in their organization.
Tell them we're alone, but we need it to get to the highest person at the state level and express our dissatisfaction of this bridge. This is, the other day, they had a fire in Lake Charles. They shut the road down. My grandbaby was in Big Pasture by himself, disabled, handicapped child. His mama could not get back home to take care of it. This is unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Yeah, but that's not, please, that's not our fault. You're preaching to her like it's her fault.
No.
You know, I mean.
I
you know,
want her
it's not her fault.
to express to
Yeah.
everybody she knows and everybody in the audience, if you know somebody in the state,
Yeah.
state level, call them, holler at them.
Hey,
And now this is permanent, just let me clarify, this is like permanent, plan. Now, they are doing some temporary repairs that they think they feel they'll be able to open the bridge, July first, I think is what they said. This is their permanent replacement versus repair plans.
We used to have the sheriff's department that would ferry people back and forth every morning, every afternoon when the bridge was broke. We used to do that. Where's the sheriff at? I know we used to do it. Why can't we do something like that? You satisfy a lot of these people, a lot of hardships. It's perfectly fine until the other bridge breaks. Then it's a problem.
I know when we were in Washington DC, Sean Wilson was right there with us at Nancy Global's office. And we asked him about the ferry. He tells us 2025, 2027. Not about what's going on now, about always broken down or no personnel. So I mean, that was Roderick Governor out there, Secretary of DOT.
Well, and
You know,
Well, they're gonna build 2 new ferries. Big deal. They can't get the personnel to run the one.
no, I know
we
that,
have.
but 2025, and 2027, we need this running now,
Yeah.
you know.
now, speaking of the ferry, they are actually working on, the 2 new ferries. They started construction 6 weeks ago.
Well,
Their estimated completion of the project is 3%.
one thing you gotta realize is a state that our government's in today. We don't have the leadership that we had in the past. When they came in and they wanted to dig that Intercoastal Canal and, dig the ship channel, they made all kinds of promises. They promised us a bridge here, okay, seen it in writing, the War Department back in the day, now who it is now. They made promises when they dug the Intercoastal. Nobody can hold the government accountable. I mean, that's the problem. They have obligations. We've been griping about the Intercoastal being dredged for years. And the reason is they wanted it, they got it. Now we don't have to worry about maintaining it. So we get secondhand, service from the government that made us all kind of promises to get what we want. So when we make a deal with the government, be very, very careful. That's all I'm gonna tell you.
Okay, Kate?
So, the last update, the state legislator has, presented their budget. It's been through the review process. The governor still has to sign off on everything, but as it stands right now, we're gonna get, the $1.9 million for our North Cameron EOC/Greenland multipurpose building. We're gonna get that in cash. And while that's what makes that such a good thing, is we don't have to wait for any type of bonding and lending and stretch it out over 2 years. We could have cash in hand by September. We could start bidding that project out.
321 Highway 384. Send it to my address.
We also have, about $200,000 in the budget to do preliminary, E&D for, Beach Prong, do some shoreline protection projects around the Beach Prong area. We look like we're gonna get $6 million through CPRA to do, more of our shoreline protection projects, finish Little Florida, and then any other, probably Rockefeller might have a few, miles they would like to add to it. We're gonna get $200,000 for Marshall Street Pump. That's cash as well, so, we could look at, between last year's $200,000 and this year's, we should be able to finish that pump project right here at Marshall Street. And that's it.
So you saying the North OEP office, whatever you call them, repeat that, but that's gonna be in September, you should have bids out.
we'll have our contracts ready to sign with state, and then they'll give us a notice to proceed to bid it out, but we'll have the money. We won't have to wait for the year that we are anticipating, so we bumped that timeline up
Good.
12 to 18 months.
Hey,
I got a question.
go ahead.
8I, is that the old air logistics place? Is that what it is? 8I, the place. On the permit. Diamond D Industries, is that the old airlog place, or is that it?
3511
Cross Clare Road.
No. For the lay down north with Jeff Davis? No,
Is that in the
that's,
curve right there?
no, that's where, that's
I know Brian Davis's camp.
yeah.
More to the west.
Know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's more to the west of his.
That area?
Better do a road bond for that.
Any other questions?
It's right west of Ron McNeely's place.
Katie, got anything else?
We do have some add-ons.
Gary, you got the add-ons?
Yep. So, there's a bunch, so just hang tight. President authority to sign contract with Keelan Construction to rebuild Drain Lake Maintenance Bourne. President authority to sign CEA with Council on Aging in Fire District 14 for temporary fire station in Grand Lake. President authority to sign CEA with Recreation District 6 for the fire station at the Cameron Rec. President authority to sign CEA with Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries for the fire station at Rockefeller Refuge. Mosquito abatement control, remove Delia Sanders, she moved out of the parish, and appoint James Boudreaux for the remainder of term. Authority to advertise to amend the ordinance temporary food service to add the Crab Festival to the fair and festivals list, and enforce the violation for Matthew Courtney, 110 Seabright Avenue, Johnson Bayou, Grass and Weed Cleanliness Ordinance.
Okay.
Yo, can you sign all that with your hands?
Oh, yeah, got it. Anything else?
You can see it.
Katie, you got anything?
That's it.
Everybody good? Meeting adjourned.